My name is Walter Briggs. I'm 55 years old, and until 8 months ago I thought loyalty meant something in corporate America. I was wrong. For 17 years, I dedicated my life to Meridian Industries, a mid-sized manufacturing company based in Cleveland, Ohio. I started as a junior account manager in 2007, making $32,000 a year, working my way up to Senior Vice President of Client Relations, with a salary of $130,000. Every morning I arrived at our downtown office on Euclid Avenue at 7:30 sharp. Every evening, I was the last to leave. I knew every client by name. I remembered their kids' birthdays, their company's quarterly challenges, their personal preferences for everything from coffee brands to contract terms. My client retention rate was 94%, the highest in company history. When Meridian's revenue grew from $12 million to $42 million during my tenure, I was the guy making those relationships stick. But apparently, none of that mattered to Daniel Croft, our 62-year-old CEO. The morning of December 15, 2024, started like any other. I was reviewing quarterly reports when Daniel's assistant called. "Mr. Briggs, Daniel needs to see you in his office immediately," she said, her voice unusually formal. I walked down the hall to Daniel's corner office, passing the framed photos of company milestones I'd helped achieve. Daniel sat behind his mahogany desk, barely looking up from his laptop. No handshake, no invitation to sit. "Walter, we're making some organizational changes," he said, his tone as cold as Lake Erie in January. "We're moving in a new direction, bringing in fresh perspectives. Your position is being eliminated effective today." I felt the air leave my lungs. Eliminated? "Daniel, my department just secured the Henderson contract. That's $3.2 million in annual revenue. I appreciate your contributions," he continued, still not making eye contact. "We'll provide 2 weeks severance and COBRA coverage for 90 days. 2 weeks. After 17 years of profit margins and client satisfaction scores that kept his company afloat, I wanted to slam my fist on his desk, demand an explanation, fight for the respect I'd earned. Instead, I took a breath. "Who's taking over my accounts?" I asked. For the first time, Daniel looked directly at me. "Ryan will be stepping into an expanded role. Ryan Croft." Daniel's 27-year-old stepson who'd been hired 10 months earlier as a business development associate. The kid who spent more time on his phone than learning our client portfolios. The one who called our biggest client, Patterson Steel, Pat Steel, during a presentation last October. If you enjoy stories of cold-blooded revenge and gripping plot twists, like this video, and subscribe to the channel now. There are brand new, unreleased stories here every day, each one more intense than the last. "Ryan has fresh ideas about client engagement," Daniel said. "He understands social media, digital marketing strategies our traditional approach has been missing." I nodded slowly. "I see. Security will escort you out. Your personal items will be boxed and shipped." 23 minutes later, I was standing on the sidewalk outside Meridian Industries, holding a cardboard box with my coffee mug and a desk plant my wife had given me. 17 years reduced to a Tuesday morning termination meeting. But here's what Daniel didn't understand about loyalty. It's not something you can transfer from one person to another like a company credit card. My clients weren't loyal to Meridian Industries. They were loyal to me. That evening, I sat in my living room in Westlake staring at my phone. 12 missed calls. 11 text messages. Word travels fast in Cleveland's industrial circles. The first call was from Janet Morrison at Patterson Steel. "Walter, what the hell happened? Ryan called here this afternoon talking about synergistic solutions and disrupting our supply chain paradigm. I couldn't understand half of what he said." I kept my response simple. "There were organizational changes at Meridian, Janet. I'm no longer with the company." "This is bullshit, Walter. You've been handling our account for 8 years. You know our specs, our deadlines, our quality requirements better than we do." The calls kept coming. Tom Rodriguez from Lakeside Manufacturing, Susan Walsh from Industrial Components Corp. Each conversation followed the same pattern: confusion, frustration, and questions I couldn't answer directly. But I listened. And I remembered every word. My wife, Linda, found me in my home office at 11 p.m. scrolling through my contacts. "You're not planning something stupid, are you?" she asked. "Define stupid," I said. "Calling Daniel, demanding your job back, burning bridges." I looked up at her. We'd been married 28 years. She knew me better than anyone. "When have I ever burned a bridge?" She smiled. "Never. That's why I'm worried. You're too calm about this." She was right. I was calm. 17 years in client relations teaches you patience. You learn to listen more than you speak. You learn to let people reveal themselves through their actions. And you learn that the most powerful moves are often the quietest ones. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in 2 decades. I slept until 9 a.m. Then I made coffee, opened my laptop, and started a spreadsheet. Client names, contract values, renewal dates, personal contacts, industry connections. It wasn't revenge planning. It was asset inventory. By Thursday, the first domino fell. Tom Rodriguez called again. "Walter, I need to tell you something. Ryan came to our facility yesterday for what he called a relationship audit. He spent 20 minutes explaining why our current procurement process was legacy thinking." "How did that go?" I asked. I asked him 3 basic questions about our titanium alloy specifications. He couldn't answer any of them. Then he suggested we switch to a cheaper alternative that would fail our stress tests within 6 months. I made notes. Not about Ryan's incompetence. That was obvious. About timing. About Tom's frustration level. About opportunity. Friday brought a more interesting call. Margaret Foster from Foster & Associates, a consulting firm specializing in manufacturing partnerships. We'd worked together on several deals over the years. "Walter, I heard about Meridian." I'm sorry, but I'm also intrigued. We've been approached by Consolidated Manufacturing Group about expanding their Cleveland operations. They need someone with deep local industry knowledge to head their new regional division. CMG. I knew them well. A Fortune 500 company with operations in 12 states. Annual revenue north of $800 million. More importantly, they were Patterson Steel's second largest supplier. What kind of position? I asked. Regional Vice President, Industrial Relations. Base salary $145,000 plus performance bonuses. They want someone who can hit the ground running with established relationships. I told Margaret I'd think about it, but I'd already made my decision. That weekend I did something else I hadn't done in years. I played golf. 18 holes at Westwood Country Club with my neighbor Pete Kaufman. Pete happened to be Patterson Steel's chief operations officer. Ryan called me yesterday, Pete mentioned on the 7th tee. Kid's got energy, I'll give him that. But Walter, he was pitching us solutions for problems we don't have. Wanted us to implement some new inventory tracking system that would cost us $200,000 to solve an efficiency issue worth maybe $15,000 annually. I lined up my shot. That's unfortunate. Janet's ready to pull the Patterson contract. 22 years we've worked with Meridian, but it was really 22 years working with you. I hit my drive straight down the fairway, 280 yards, my best shot all season. Pete, what would you do if you were in my position? He looked at me for a long moment. I'd remember that loyalty is a two-way street, and I'd make sure the right people knew where my loyalties actually lie. Monday morning, I called Margaret Foster back. About that CMG position, let's talk. The CMG interview took place the following Wednesday at their corporate offices in downtown Cleveland. I met with 3 executives, including Regional Director Sarah Kim. The conversation lasted 2 hours. Walter, we've done our homework, Sarah said. Your client retention numbers speak for themselves. But more than that, we've heard about your reputation for integrity. That's exactly what we need for this expansion. They offered me the position on the spot. Regional Vice President, Industrial Relations. $145,000 base salary, performance bonuses up to 30%, full benefits, and a company Buick Enclave. I would oversee CMG's new Cleveland division, focusing on strategic partnerships with mid-sized manufacturers. I accepted immediately. My first day at CMG was January 6, 2025. My first official act was reviewing their target client list for the Cleveland market. Patterson Steel was number 1. Industrial Components Corp was number 3. Lakeside Manufacturing was number 7. I smiled and started making calls. Janet, this is Walter Briggs. I have some news that might interest you. Walter, thank God. Please tell me you found a way out of this mess with Meridian. Better than that. I'm now Regional VP at Consolidated Manufacturing Group. We'd like to discuss a partnership opportunity with Patterson Steel. The silence lasted maybe 3 seconds. Are you telling me CMG wants to work with us directly? I'm telling you CMG can offer Patterson Steel better pricing, faster delivery, and the kind of personalized service you're used to receiving. When can we meet? We scheduled lunch for Friday. By Thursday evening, Janet had called back. Walter, I need to ask you something directly. If we move our business to CMG, what happens to our relationship with Meridian? That's entirely your decision, Janet. But I should mention, CMG's capacity can handle 100% of Patterson's current volume. Their quality standards exceed Meridian's, and their pricing structure could save you 12 to 15% annually. 12 to 15%? Walter, that's almost $400,000. I've run the numbers twice. Friday's lunch meeting lasted 3 hours. Janet brought Pete Kaufman and their procurement director, David Nash. By dessert, we had a handshake agreement for a 3-year partnership worth $9.6 million. The same day, Daniel Croft called me. Walter, this is Daniel. I think we may have made a mistake. Perhaps we were too hasty with the organizational changes. I was sitting in my new office on the 23rd floor of Key Tower, looking out at Lake Erie. I'm sorry, Daniel, but I'm not sure what you mean. I'd like to discuss bringing you back. Ryan's having some challenges adjusting to the client relations aspect of his role. What kind of challenges? Patterson Steel terminated their contract this morning. They're citing fundamental incompatibilities in service expectations. I was hoping you might help us understand what went wrong. I leaned back in my leather chair. That's unfortunate, Daniel. Patterson was a valuable relationship. Walter, I'm prepared to offer you a significant raise. Senior Executive Vice President. $155,000 base plus equity participation. I appreciate the offer, but I've already accepted a position elsewhere. Where? Consolidated Manufacturing Group. The silence stretched longer than Lake Erie's shoreline. CMG? Walter, you can't be serious. There are non-compete clauses in your severance agreement. I opened my laptop and pulled up my severance documents. Actually, Daniel, the non-compete specifically prohibits me from working for direct competitors in the manufacturing services sector. CMG is a supplier, not a service provider. Completely different market segment. This is... He paused. This feels personal, Walter. Business is never personal, Daniel. You taught me that. I hung up and immediately called Tom Rodriguez at Lakeside Manufacturing. Tom, Walter Briggs. I'm calling with an opportunity that could revolutionize your supply chain management. Within 2 weeks, I had signed partnership agreements with 5 former Meridian clients. Total combined value, $18.3 million. My performance bonus for the first quarter would exceed my entire annual salary at Meridian. But the real satisfaction came from an unexpected source. Susan Walsh from Industrial Components Corp. called me on a Tuesday afternoon in late January. Walter, I have to tell you something. Ryan Croft showed up at our facility yesterday unannounced. He was asking about our migration timeline back to Meridian. Migration timeline. Apparently, he believes our partnership with CMG is temporary. He kept insisting that our historical loyalty to Meridian meant we'd eventually return. He even offered to match CMG's pricing. What did you tell him? I told him the truth. That our loyalty was never to Meridian Industries. It was to you. 3 months later, I was reviewing quarterly reports in my corner office at CMG when Sarah Kim knocked on my door. Walter, have you seen the news about Meridian Industries? I looked up from my laptop. What news? She handed me a copy of Crane's Cleveland Business. The headline read, Meridian Industries files for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. I read the article carefully. Revenue had dropped 68% since December. They'd lost 11 major clients, including their 3 largest accounts. The company was laying off 85 employees and closing their downtown offices. Daniel Croft had resigned as CEO. Ryan Croft was nowhere mentioned in the article. That's unfortunate, I said, handing the newspaper back to Sarah. Walter, didn't you work there for almost 20 years? 17 years, I corrected. Different company back then. The truth was, I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not regret, not vindication. Just the quiet certainty that actions have consequences. That evening, Linda found me in our kitchen making dinner. She'd been watching me carefully since the Meridian news broke. So, how does it feel? She asked. How does what feel? Watching your old company collapse. I considered the question while seasoning the salmon. You remember when Tommy was 12 and he broke your grandmother's vase? Linda smiled. He tried to glue it back together and hide it behind the bookshelf. Right. And when you found it 3 days later, was it the discovery that broke the vase? No, the vase was already broken. Meridian Industries was already broken the day they chose nepotism over competence. I just stopped holding the pieces together. 2 weeks later, I received an unexpected phone call. Margaret Foster from Foster & Associates. Walter, I have an interesting proposition. Daniel Croft wants to meet with you. About what? He's starting a consulting firm, small business advisory services. He's looking for experienced partners who understand client relationships. I almost laughed. Daniel wants to hire me again. He's offering you a 40% partnership stake. His words were, I finally understand what Walter was worth to the company. What did you tell him? That I'd pass along the message. Walter, there's something else. I've been hearing rumors about Ryan. What kind of rumors? He's been interviewing at various companies around Cleveland. Apparently, he's telling people he's successfully managed multi-million-dollar client portfolios at Meridian. I made notes, not because I cared about Ryan's career prospects, but because accuracy matters. Margaret, if anyone calls you for a reference check on Ryan Croft, what will you tell them? The truth. That he was employed at Meridian Industries for approximately 10 months That should be sufficient. 1 month later, CMG promoted me to Vice President of Strategic Development for the entire Great Lakes region. My new salary was $185,000, plus bonuses that would likely push my total compensation above $250,000 annually. I was managing relationships with clients across Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Western New York. My territory included 43 major manufacturing companies. 21 of them were former Meridian clients. Last week, Linda and I celebrated our 29th wedding anniversary at the Metropolitan at the Nine, the same restaurant where we'd had our first date. Over dessert, she asked me a question I'd been expecting. Do you ever regret how things turned out with Meridian? I thought about it seriously. I regret that Daniel chose loyalty to his family over loyalty to his employees. I regret that good people lost their jobs because of bad leadership. But I don't regret leaving when I did. What about Daniel's consulting offer? Some bridges aren't worth rebuilding. As I write this, it's been 8 months since my termination from Meridian Industries. CMG's Cleveland division is exceeding revenue projections by 38%. I have a team of 12 account managers reporting to me. My office overlooks Lake Erie from the 41st floor of Terminal Tower. This morning, I received a LinkedIn message from someone I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "Employment Reference Request, Ryan Croft." I opened the message. A human resources manager from a small manufacturing company in Akron was asking about Ryan's extensive client management experience and his role in strategic business development initiatives. I stared at the message for several minutes. Then I typed my response. Ryan Croft was employed at Meridian Industries as a business development associate from February 2024 to December 2024. During his tenure, the company experienced significant client retention challenges and ultimately filed for bankruptcy in April 2025. I would recommend verifying all employment claims and speaking with multiple references before making hiring decisions. Please let me know if you need any additional factual information. I hit send and return to my quarterly projections. The thing about revenge is that it's most effective when it doesn't look like revenge at all. Sometimes the best way to defeat your enemies is simply to let them defeat themselves. If you enjoyed this story, like this video, and leave your comment telling us what you thought. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, please subscribe and hit the bell to receive notifications for new stories like this one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.